Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome world-renowned race driver and TV commentator, David Hobbs.
Well, thank you, Jerry, and I'm not quite sure why I'm here, because, I mean, you've just heard it all from everybody. You got people like Roger Penske there, so eloquent, Chip Ganassi, then Mario. Pretty much everybody has said everything that could be said about the France family and their incredible dynasty, which has been amazing over the last, 70 years. And I really have so little to add. Obviously, the evening is supposed to end with a bang and a bit of a laugh and that sort of thing. Well, for the first time in my life, I find myself pretty much speechless because, I mean, it's all been said. But I do want to say that I probably met Big Bill before most people in this room did, and that was in 1962. In my first year as a professional race driver, I was driving a Jaguar XKE in Europe, and Bill asked my owner to bring the car over to the very first sports car race at Daytona, and he for the Continental 3-Hour in 1962. I'd been married 3 weeks, and I left home for 3 weeks, which went down really well. And of course, to get to Daytona in those days, you had to fly to New York from England. Our car was handled by the Cunningham Group. Actually, Briggs Cunningham Group handled the car. And my own car, which was a Load Salite, automatic Load Salite, which I'd driven very successfully that year, was going to be driven by a Scotsman, a young Scotsman who nobody knew much about by the name of Jimmy Clark. And he and I drove down to Daytona. Well, there was no 95 then, I-95, and we came down on Route 1, which took a long time. Especially as about every 5 minutes we got stopped for speeding. There's all these cops in those really pressed shirts and those cowboy hat things they wear, and, looking like Smokey the Bear, you know. And Jimmy got really pissed off with putting his hands on the roof and said, "Put your hands on the roof, son." But we eventually arrived in Daytona, and $600 later. And we met Jim's father, Big Bill. And Jim, of course, at the time was, 18? So he was probably sweeping the deck out the back somewhere. We didn't really associate with him. But Big Bill was, as Roger said, vision. You know, this is a guy that had massive vision. I mean, he'd start off with the races on the beach, and then he had, managed to get the speedway built on what was the edge of Daytona in those days, because now it's right more or less in the middle of town. But I mean, he was so welcoming because he really wanted to internationalize the Daytona Speedway. He didn't just want to have it for NASCAR, which of course at that time was just a fledgling group anyway, and still was very regional for the South. But he wanted to internationalize it, so he had a tremendous amount of guys came in. Sterling Moss was there, I was there, Innes Island was there, a whole bunch of guys from Europe. And he was so welcoming and so entertaining. We were out every night. We went to receptions at Ormond Beach and Flagler Beach and Daytona. And everywhere we went, on the video screens, unlike today where it's all really high-tech video, because then it was just film, and there was all these gory crashes at places like Daytona, and people like Jimmy Clark, "What the hell are we doing here? We're going to get killed." I said, "We're not actually going to do the NASCAR race." Anyway, but I mean, he was so, I mean, we were entertained every night, and he was so welcoming. It was really terrific to speak with him. And of course, he's a very overpowering personality. I mean, then, I'm 5'10". Then I was 6'1". But that's what happens when you get old. I mean, you just shrink, you know. In a couple of weeks, I'll be in my shoes. But Bill was huge and, really overpowering. He'd grip you around the shoulder, give you a pat on the back, and send you skipping across the room. But the whole thing was awesome. It really was. And little did we know then, what great strides Bill was going to make in American racing and international racing as well, because, NASCAR has become a major sanctioning body. And, of course, Jim has done an amazing job over the last few years, starting with the Grand Am, and everybody was a bit doubtful when it started, but I mean, he pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and persevered, and now we've got an event today, this weekend here at Watkins Glen, which is really one of the, tremendous sports car series. I mean, you've got people like Wayne Taylor and his 2 kids. I saw Wayne on the plane today, and I showed him the blank piece of paper, which is going to be my speech tonight, and it's still blank. But I mean, really, the field in IMSA now is absolutely extraordinary, and that's all down to the France family, obviously with the leadership of Jim. The last few years, I've known Jim. I didn't know him when he was 18, when I first came here, but I've known him since socially, and he picked me up off the floor a couple of times, but that was just because my knee gave out. But I just want to say, obviously I shouldn't really be here because we've had people like Roger Penske, Chip Ganassi, Mario, everybody extolling the France family, which is very much deserved. And I really shouldn't be here at all, but I am. And Judy Stroper's dragged me here and said, you've got to speak. She gave me 3 minutes. Well, I think I've been speaking for more than 3 minutes, but I've really enjoyed meeting your father, you, your other brothers, and it's just been an amazing career that you've had, and I just want to thank you, because I'm a sports car guy at heart. Although I did lead the Daytona 500 for a lap, the only foreign driver to lead the Daytona 500, and I was driving for Benny Parsons in his backup car in 1976. He and I drove in the BMW 3-litre CSL in the 24-hour. And part of the deal was that I was going to drive his backup car in the 500. Well, I actually I finished 8th in the qualifying race on a Thursday. I thought, what the hell? 8th? That means I'm going to be on the 8th. I'm going to be in the middle of this lot of maniacs. So, and I was. We came off turn 4. Those old NASCAR cars in those days took a bit of getting those people. Because by the time you get to 3 and 4, up to full speed, whatever it was then, 190 or something. And I come bollocking off turn 4, and I'm in the middle of the pack, and there is shit and destruction everywhere. I mean, the car's wobbling about in the wind, in the air, in the street, and there's blows bouncing off the wall. You can smell the concrete, and you can smell the rubber where it's rubbing on the concrete, and the rubber where it's rubbing on the paint. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing here? Anyway, I hit the wall, so I was all over yet. Not there, but I mean. But before I hit the wall, they had a caution flag, because in those days we had no radios. So I had a caution flag, and I'm out there leading, because everybody else has gone to the pits. So, which is what we all should have done. I'm thinking, this is a piece of cake. Anyway, Jim, the whole France family, I want to thank you all so much for having me and allowing me to speak at such an auspicious occasion with such great people, Roger, Chip, and everybody else here, and I want to thank you all very much, and really enjoy the rest of the weekend, and you have really put sports car racing back on the map in this country, and I want to thank you for that, Jim. Thank you.
David Hobbs, ladies and gentlemen, David Hobbs. He's